Hey cake lovers, today I'm going to be showing you how to make American buttercream but with reduced sugar. But before we start, what is American buttercream? Now American buttercream is probably one of the most popular frostings to put on a cake. It's a combination of butter and icing sugar, though there are some recipes that include vegetable fat in the recipe as well, which can help with having a really good firm buttercream. American buttercream gets a really bad rap, I think, because a lot of people consider it too sweet. Now, the traditional American buttercream recipe is a 1:2 ratio, so that's typically 250 grams of butter and 500 grams of icing sugar. Now, that is quite a really sweet recipe, and like I said, it's a reason why a lot of people are not big fans of American buttercream. Up until about 6 months ago, this is the ratio that I used. Typically, I didn't have any complaints from customers about it. But I was kind of reviewing, I was thinking, actually, I'm sure I can still get the same amount, maybe not the same amount, but sweetness to the buttercream without having all the extra sugar in it. Because, yes, cakes are calorific, but if we can kind of maybe cut down a bit on the sugar but still making sure it tastes nice, that would be a good thing. So I experimented a little bit and I've come to a recipe that I personally use, which is in the description box below, and you still get that sweetness, and I've been using it since and I haven't had any issues from any of my customers who say, oh, the buttercream isn't that sweet. So today I'm going to show you how to make it. It's very simple. With your hobby bakers or whether you're a pro baker, it's a very simple recipe. So let's get into making it. The first thing you need is your butter. Now this butter has been left out overnight, so it's all softened. I always use salted butter because I think that helps in terms of cutting down on the sweetness of the buttercream. I have my butter in the bowl. I've put my timer for 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do here is beat the butter for 10 minutes on its own until by the end of the 10 minutes, it will be a lot lighter in colour. I find doing it this way, beating up the butter before you put in the sugar, you get a smoother buttercream and a nice lighter in colour buttercream. Here is the buttercream after it's beaten for 10 minutes. As you can see, it's a lot lighter in colour. The next thing I'm going to do is add my icing sugar. I've already sieved it. You don't have to sift icing sugar because I feel that icing sugar in general, if you get the good quality one, is pretty much, it's fine. I think the cheaper ones, though, when I've bought cheaper icing sugar, I do have to sift it because it is a lot lumpier. So here I'm just putting in about half of the icing sugar into the bowl. And what I will do now is start beating it. Now when I start beating it, I always put it on a low speed. And to prevent the icing sugar from going all over the place, I put a tea towel over the bowl, as you can see here. That just keeps the icing sugar into the bowl so it doesn't go all over the kitchen. Once it's mixed in for a few seconds, then I will take the tea towel off. You'll see that in a minute. So I'm taking it off here, and then what I will do is I gradually increase the speed, and I normally beat it for about 7 to 10 minutes. I think I did 7 minutes this time. Let's see. The timer's coming up. Yeah, 7 minutes. So that's going to be it for 7 minutes. And remember, that's the first part of the icing sugar. This is the first batch all mixed in. What I tend to do is get a spatula and just mix it all in, just to make sure that all the butter is mixed in properly. It's not all stuck down at the bottom of the bowl, which can happen sometimes. Just mixing it in. Now I'm going to put in my second lot of icing sugar. So this is the other half. As you can see, I don't know why I'm rushing here, but I am. But you can see when you rush putting icing sugar into a bowl, it gets everywhere. You just get this cloud. You'll see in a minute the cloud. Look at that. Cloud of icing sugar, and that literally gets over everything in the kitchen. Just have this thin layer of icing sugar. So I'm finishing putting up the icing sugar in the bowl. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a teaspoon of recently boiled hot water. This just helps with to soften it up, basically, make it easier to spread. And for flavouring, because this is a vanilla buttercream, I'm using vanilla bean paste. I don't normally eyeball it when I measure it, so that's probably maybe quarter of a teaspoon. You don't need that much with vanilla bean paste because it's quite concentrate. What I will do now is mix that all in. I have to make sure I put my trusty tea towel to prevent the icing sugar cloud. Mix it in for a little bit and then take it off. And then turn it up and mix it. This will be for another 7 minutes. The 7 minutes are up. This is the icing all done. Nice and smooth. I'm not actually going to use it today. If I was, I would probably beat it again for a little bit longer just to get rid of some of the air bubbles. But I'm actually going to store it for another project for another day. So I'm going to show you now how I store my buttercream. I store my buttercream in plastic containers. Here's the buttercream in the container. I always label it so that I know what type of buttercream it is and when the date is. I normally use the date that the butter expires on. So in this case, the butter expires at the end of June. So that's my label there. So I know what I'm looking for when I need buttercream. So that is American Buttercream. I hope you get a chance to make it. Like I say, it's very simple. It's the perfect buttercream particularly for beginner bakers. I am going to be showing other types of frosting, including the meringue-based frosting, the Russian buttercream. And what's interesting about the meringue-based frosting, I've never ever made Swiss meringue or Italian meringue, which I know for most cakers is the go-to frosting. I've never made them. So when I make them on here, it'll be for the first time. So you can cry or laugh with me. I have tasted Swiss meringue buttercream and I have to admit I'm not a massive fan personally. It does have a lot more butter than it does have sugar. It's very buttery for me and I don't really like it. But that's my own personal taste. But I know that is the sexy buttercream that people should be using. And American buttercream is not as sexy, but I still use it. And another thing, I do use the American buttercream for the basis of other buttercreams. For example, my chocolate buttercream is using this recipe, but then I add cooled melted chocolate. So it's a really good basis for other flavors. Here are some more videos here to check out for you. Until next time, cake lovers.